I live near Angeles National Forest. I've been hiking those trails for years, and I know them well enough that I don't really worry about getting lost or anything like that. I'm comfortable out there. The night this all went down, I'd gotten some bad news over the phone earlier in the day. It was the kind of news that makes you feel like you need to get out of the house and clear your head. Some people drink when they're upset. Some people call a friend. I go for a hike. It was around 8 when I set out. I wasn't planning anything ambitious, just wanted to clear my head, maybe tire myself out enough so that I could actually sleep when I got back. Night hikes aren't unusual for me, especially on trails I know well. There's something about being out there in the dark that usually feels meditative. The fog that night was something else, though. I had checked the weather before leaving, but conditions at elevation are always a gamble. By the time I was a little ways in, visibility had dropped to maybe 20 feet. Everything beyond that was just gray. I tried using my flashlight at first, but the beam just bounced back at me off the moisture in the air. It actually made things worse, like trying to drive with your high beams on in a snowstorm, so I mostly kept it off, letting my eyes adjust to what little ambient light filtered through. I had music playing to deter any animals from bothering me, which was something I picked up from my dad. About an hour in, I noticed a smell. It was faint at first, and I actually stopped walking for a second because it caught me so off guard. It didn't smell like natural wood smell. It kind of smelled like a perfume, which I know sounds absurd, but that's genuinely what it smelled like. It wasn't strong or overwhelming, just this distinct floral scent that had no business being out there. I looked around, which was pointless because I couldn't see anything anyway, and by the time I'd finished scanning the fog, the smell was gone. I didn't really know what to make of it, so I just brushed it off. About 10 minutes later, though, there was a new smell. This time, it was something a little more familiar. Campfire. So I instantly connected the dots. There was someone camping somewhere out there, and that also probably explained the perfume smell. But the smell was only there for about 30 seconds before vanishing, which was a little strange. It wasn't until smelling the third smell that I thought something was really off. It was this herbal, almost earthy scent that I immediately recognized from my childhood, but couldn't place. The familiarity of it, combined with how completely out of context it was, unsettled me. I probably should have turned around the moment things felt off, but I kept hiking. Things were normal for a while, and I started feeling better about everything. But as soon as I felt even the slightest sense of calm, I noticed a flashlight beam on the ridge to my left. The ridge runs parallel to the main trail, but sits maybe 100 feet higher, and there are no marked trails or access points up there, which I know for a fact because I've looked at maps plenty of times, wondering if there was a way to get up. The terrain is too dangerous. You'd also have to bushwhack through some seriously nasty stuff to reach that elevation from where I was. And yet, there was clearly someone up there. The beam would turn on, sweep across a section of the ridge, then turn off, and then a few seconds later, it would turn on again somewhere else. In that very moment, I realized listening to music was now a huge liability, so I turned the music off and listened. Whoever was up there was whistling, which sounds normal enough, but it really freaked me out. If I could hear them whistling, they would have definitely heard the music I was just playing. At that point, I was several miles into the trail. The smart thing would still have been to turn around, but I didn't want to. There was a little overlook spot up ahead that I knew about, so I told myself I'd take a break there and think things through. But as soon as I made it there, I saw something that made everything about 100 times worse. There was a stone sculpture sitting on a flat rock near the edge of the overlook. I knew what that meant. I instantly stood up, turned around, and started walking back the way I had come. But out of nowhere, I heard rapid footsteps approaching me in the direction I was walking. It was unmistakable. 100% a person's footsteps, not an animal's. I didn't even have time to think. The footsteps were so close that all I could do was hold my ground and prepare for an altercation. I didn't even have time to run, but as soon as the footsteps were right on me, they just abruptly stopped. It was really, really scary. I kept staring into the fog, but I couldn't see anything. Part of me thought whoever had just charged me was now standing still, somewhere out of my field of view. But that didn't make any sense. If I couldn't see them, how in the world did they know where I was? I waited another few seconds, and then pulled out the switchblade I always kept for protection. I kept holding my ground, just waiting to see or even hear something, waiting to be attacked. But now it was just dead silence. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to announce my presence, but I was pretty sure whoever was out there already knew I was there. The thing that made it so much worse was that the footsteps had come from the direction I needed to go to get back. There was no alternate route. If I wanted to leave, I had to walk directly toward where those footsteps had come from. I tried to hold out, but I couldn't wait there forever, so I started moving. I was fully expecting to see someone eventually, at which point I don't even know what I would have done. But the further into the fog I went, the more I started thinking that whoever had been there somehow ran off without me hearing them. The paranoia was excruciating. Every few minutes or so, I swore I heard 1 or 2 extra footsteps, like someone was matching my pace from behind now. I kept looking over my shoulder, but there was nothing but fog every time. That lasted for about a mile or so. It was genuinely the most tense mile of my life. I was being stalked. I was certain of it. Out of nowhere, something crashed through the bushes somewhere behind me. It was so loud that I physically jumped. This time, I couldn't control myself. I yelled something out as a pure, terrified reaction. I turned around to the spot where the noise had come from, but again, I couldn't see anything. At that point, I genuinely felt like I was going to lose my life in that forest, so I started running. I don't know why it took me so long to run, but the moment I started running, I didn't stop until I made it all the way back to my car. And the whole time, I heard crashing coming from somewhere behind me. I was definitely being chased, but I didn't care. I still consider it a miracle that I made it back to my car in one piece. I didn't hike for months after this experience, and I never got an answer for what happened that night.